make the argument that teaching children is one of the most important jobs there is. We start preparing tomorrow's leaders and innovators in their earliest years of school, grades K through 12. But the high performance marks that the United States has traditionally enjoyed amongst industrialized nations have fallen off over the years. Minority students in inner city schools are particularly vulnerable to underperformance. While there are many causes to these problems, a critical one seems to be understaffing. The teaching profession's human resources management, that process of determining staffing needs and then recruiting, selecting, developing, motivating, evaluating, compensating, and scheduling employees to achieve organizational goals may be breaking down in how school systems find and retain the best teachers possible. Teach for America is a nonprofit training and placement organization that seeks young, highly qualified volunteers to teach at troubled inner-city schools for a 2-year period before beginning their ultimate careers. TFA's intensive 5-week summer course prepares the recruit for the challenges and needs of the inner-city classroom, which may feature larger than average numbers of students dealing with problems like poverty, poor nutrition, and low self-esteem and motivation. Continued TFA support and training helps the new teacher to turn these at-risk students around and guide them towards success.
Our founder, Wendy Kopp, grew up in an upper middle class suburb of Dallas, and her roommates and other classmates of theirs who are also first generation college students really struggled with the academic curriculum at Princeton, whereas their peers who had gone to prep school found it a lot easier.
A major source of that problem was understaffing. Many professional teachers avoid the challenges of inner-city schools, so school boards have difficulty finding enough teachers to cover their classes at all, let alone with teachers with the skill and motivation to teach well.
Educational inequity really started to get Wendy to think about, what can I do and other people in my generation to help to close the gap of opportunity that kids have? And so what that led her to do was to write her senior thesis about this idea of launching a national teacher corps modeled after the Peace Corps that would bring this pipeline of outstanding leaders into the field of education.
Teach for America's mission is to put more quality teachers into schools that need them. So Wendy put the aggressive recruiting tactics used by Fortune 500 companies to work, landing the best possible talent. To the human resource managers of public school systems in the most troubled cities, TFA recruits are an irreplaceable resource. And since Teach for America recruits students still in college, they find motivated, passionate teachers that aren't burned out on teaching.
We believe it is not okay that the zip code where you were born in many ways determines your outcomes in education and your outcomes in life. To really fully tackle this problem is going to require dramatically growing the pipeline of talent and leadership of people who are committed to expanding educational opportunity for kids.
To assure that it's not compounding the problem, Teach for America only selects applicants that meet rigorous standards. Only about 1 applicant in 10 for the popular program, and its vetting process is extensive. Online applicants are interviewed by phone, must present a lesson plan, are interviewed in person, must pass a written test, and are monitored in a group discussion with other applicants. The source pool of applicants includes students from 350 campuses, including Harvard and Cornell, making competition for this opportunity pretty intense. TFA puts a special emphasis on selecting diverse candidates that reflect the makeup of the classrooms they'll be teaching in. Nearly 40% of their selections are people of color, representing a broad range of Black, Latino, Asian, and Native American recruits.
We as an organization aspire to be a model for the kind of fairness and equity that we envision for our nation as a whole. For most of my students, I was the first Asian person they'd met, and having the opportunity to get to know each other and to learn about each other as people and human beings, not caricatures, I thought was tremendously important.
But diversity isn't just about difference. It's about making sure that students are fairly and proportionally represented by the teachers who teach them.
Seeing somebody who shared their background made the kids feel like they had a greater sense of possibility about what they could do with their lives, and that was really, really important as well.
Once selected, TFA recruits undertake a structured orientation and off-the-job training program that ends in job simulation exercises. They are placed in the most troubled inner-city schools around the country, and while there, receive additional support and training from Teach for America.
We have a 5-week summer institute where we ground our core members in curriculum, in lesson planning, in building strong relationships within schools and communities, and that really is all oriented around what they need to be successful working with kids in low-income communities.
So why do so many students, some not even in the teaching field, fight so hard for the opportunity to teach inner-city children? Well, the biggest motivator is helping the kids themselves. College students know the value of a decent education and how difficult one can be to get. So they want to share their education with the less fortunate. But Teach for America is also an elite program with a noble mission, and that's something that looks great on a young graduate's resume. The compensation package is also unmatched in the field of public service. As teachers, recruits earn salaries comparable to other teachers at their grade level, whereas volunteers for other programs such as the Peace Corps actually earn very little for the time they serve. Monetary compensation is a growing concern for graduates facing huge student loan debts in a slow economy. Making a contribution to troubled kids for 2 years gives them a chance to wait out the bad economy and troubled job market. And the education they receive teaching serves them well when they move on to other fields of their own choosing.
We believe that our 32,000 alumni, having had the experience of teaching in the classroom, getting to know kids, teaching and working in a low-income community, are really well positioned and motivated to help to expand those opportunities for kids in whatever field they work in.
So, how well does the program work? If the organization's growth and the demand by inner-city schools for its teachers are any indication, it's doing quite well.
In North Carolina, Tennessee, and Louisiana, they've done studies which show that Teach for America is one of the top teacher preparation programs in each state. And we're also really proud that a recent Mathematica study showed that having a Teach for America teacher resulted in 2.6 months of additional learning in math versus the average. And 95% of principals who have Teach for America teachers say that these Teach for America teachers are making a positive difference in the classroom.
But TFA evaluates the performance of its teachers and program more closely than that. Relative to the existing standards of underperformance, Teach for America alumni perform better than many traditional educators, including some career teachers with more training and education. And even when performance is about the same, TFA recruits may be staffing positions that were otherwise impossible to fill for lack of candidates and resources. And as for the commitment of TFA placements, over half stay in the teaching field, and over 2/3 stay in the greater education field. And this includes students who'd intended to go on to other careers after their 2-year commitment ended. Teach for America believes that the American public school system still has a lot to learn about educating inner-city children. And with the 10,000 recruits a year it's training and putting into the most troubled schools, they continue to drive the lesson home. More quality, dedicated teachers give challenged students a fighting chance to fulfill their untapped potential.
When I think back on my experience teaching 5th grade in rural Mississippi, I think about my students who I grew to know and love, kids who are just as smart and capable as kids anywhere else in the country. But what I saw was that my kids were getting a raw deal simply because of where they were born and the color of their skin. Being part of an organization where every single person is equally committed to making sure that all kids in our country have access to a great education is truly inspiring and truly a privilege.